She was only 4 years old when she walked into the most luxurious office in the city, her pink slippers tapping on the marble floor. "Please, sir, my mommy is very sick," she whispered to the most powerful man in the country, never imagining those words would change their lives forever. Marcus Wellington tightened the knot of his Hermes tie as he looked over the skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows on the top floor. At 35, he was the youngest CEO in the history of Wellington Industries, a company that moved billions in real estate investments. His schedule was packed: a meeting with Japanese investors at 9 a.m., a board conference at 11 a.m., and lunch with the mayor at 1 p.m. Everything meticulously planned, as always. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Wellington, there's a situation at reception," said Amanda, his assistant, with a tightness in her voice Marcus rarely heard. "What kind of situation?" he asked, eyes still on the report spread across the mahogany desk. "It's a child, sir, a little girl. She's asking to speak with you." Marcus frowned. In 15 years of a blazing career, nothing like that had ever happened. A child. How had she even made it this far? Where were her parents? "We don't know, sir. She says she needs to talk to the most important man in the building. Security isn't sure what to do." Marcus exhaled. He did not have time for this. His morning was tight and any interruption could throw off the entire day, but there was something in Amanda's voice that made him hesitate. "Send her up," he said, surprising himself. 5 minutes later, the office door opened and Marcus saw something he never expected to see in that corporate setting. A little girl with blonde curls, wearing a simple blue dress and worn pink shoes. She couldn't have been more than 4, yet her big blue eyes held a seriousness that didn't fit her age. She stopped at the threshold, clearly intimidated by the size of the office. Marcus watched as she looked around, taking in the art on the walls, the clean lines of the furniture, the sweeping view of the city. When their eyes met, she squared her small shoulders with a determination that impressed him. "Are you the most important man here?" she asked, her small voice echoing in the quiet room. Marcus stood, not entirely sure how to handle the moment. "Me? Yes, I suppose so. What's your name?" "Emma," she answered, taking careful steps toward the desk. "Emma Rodriguez. My mommy works downstairs on the cleaning crew." The name sounded familiar, but Marcus couldn't place it. He had over 500 employees and rarely interacted with the overnight cleaning staff. They came in after hours, when he had already gone home. "And what are you doing here, Emma? Where is your mother?" The girl's eyes filled with tears, but she fought not to cry. "She's at the hospital. She's really sick. Aunt Carmen said there isn't money for the medicine she needs." Something tightened in Marcus's chest. He walked around the desk and crouched so he could look her in the eye. "Did you come here by yourself?" Emma nodded and wiped her nose on the sleeve of her dress. "I heard Aunt Carmen say you're very rich and you can help anyone. So I thought maybe you could help my mommy." The simplicity of a child's logic left Marcus speechless. A 4-year-old had crossed half the downtown, entered one of the most secure buildings in the city, and made it all the way to the top floor because she believed he could save her mother. "Emma, how did you get here? It's far from your home." "I took the bus," she said proudly. "I know the number. Mommy taught me in case I got lost, and I asked people where the Wellington building was." Marcus remembered his own childhood, when his mother was ill, and he felt powerless, but he'd been a middle-class boy with no means to do anything. Emma, on the other hand, had decided to ask for help in the most improbable place. "You were very brave, Emma. Do your parents know you're here?" "It's just me and Mommy," she answered softly. "And now Mommy is sleeping at the hospital and won't wake up. The doctors said she needs very expensive medicine." Marcus's heart squeezed. He looked at the little girl, so small and vulnerable, and yet so determined. In her eyes, he saw the same will that had driven him to build his empire, directed now at something much purer, saving the person she loved most. "What's your mother's name, Emma?" "Maria Rodriguez. She cleans the offices here at night. She always says she works for important people and needs to do a good job because important people help the city." Marcus finally made the connection. Maria Rodriguez. He'd seen the name on HR reports, but had never paid attention. To him, the cleaning staff had been numbers on a spreadsheet part of operating costs. Now, looking at Emma, he realized each of those numbers represented a life, a family, a story. "Emma, are you hungry or thirsty?" She nodded timidly. Marcus called Amanda on the intercom and asked her to bring some things from the executive pantry. As they waited, he watched Emma take in the office with the curious eye of a child. "Do you work here all the time?" she asked, pointing at the paper-covered desk. "Almost all the time," Marcus answered, realizing how pathetic that sounded when said to a 4-year-old. "That must be tiring. Mommy always says working too much is bad for your health." The irony did not escape Marcus. A janitor working nights to support her daughter worried about his health, while he had never once worried about hers. Amanda arrived with sandwiches, fruit, and juice. Emma ate neatly, clearly trying to mind her manners even though she was starving. Marcus watched every gesture, every expression, and felt something shift inside him. "Emma, can you tell me more about your mom? How did she get sick?" The girl swallowed her bite before answering. "She started coughing a lot. First she said it was just a cold, but then it got worse. She couldn't go up the stairs without getting out of breath. Yesterday morning she fell in the bathroom and couldn't get up." A lump formed in Marcus's throat. "Were you alone with her?" "I called Aunt Carmen, who lives next door. She helped Mommy and called the ambulance. At the hospital, the doctor said Mommy has something in her lungs, but the medicine costs a lot of money." "How much money?" Emma paused and looked at him with hope. "Aunt Carmen said it's $15,000. She said it's more than Mommy makes in a whole year. $15,000. Marcus could spend that on a single dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant. It was less than he paid for a suit. A trivial amount to him, but to a 4-year-old, it meant her mother's life. "Emma, do you know the name of the hospital where your mother is?" "St. Vincent Hospital. It's near our place." Marcus knew of the hospital, one of the strained public hospitals in the area, always overcrowded, always short on resources. He picked up the phone and called his personal assistant. "Robert, I need you at St. Vincent Hospital right now. Look for a patient named Maria Rodriguez. I want a full report on her condition and the treatment she needs. And Robert, tell them all expenses will be covered by Wellington Industries." Emma stopped eating, eyes wide. "You're going to help my mommy?" Marcus looked at the small child who had crossed the whole city on nothing but the hope that a stranger would have compassion. "Yes, Emma, I'm going to help your mother." For the first time since she'd stepped into the office, Emma smiled, and it was the most beautiful smile Marcus had ever seen. Bobbert returned 3 hours later with a report that unsettled Marcus. Maria Rodriguez had severe pneumonia, complicated by malnutrition and exhaustion. The doctors said she had been working sick for weeks, refusing treatment because she couldn't risk losing her job. "Mr. Wellington," Robert added, clearly uncomfortable, "there's something else you should know. I spoke with the hospital social worker. Ms. Rodriguez is holding down 3 jobs to support her daughter overnights here at Wellington Industries, afternoons at a law firm, and weekends cleaning a private home." Guilt pricked at Marcus as Emma sat at his desk, drawing on paper he'd given her. While the little girl colored, he was learning that her mother was working herself to the bone just to survive. "3 jobs," he murmured. "Yes, sir, and even so, she barely manages the rent and daycare for Emma. The social worker said the little girl is sometimes left alone because her mother can't afford a sitter. Marcus looked at Emma, focused on her drawing. How could a 4-year-old be so mature and so responsible? She'd come here alone, crossing the city to find help for her mother. How many other children were facing similar situations? Robert, I want you to review every member of our cleaning staff. I want to know about their living conditions, their families, their needs, and I want the report by the end of the week. Yes, sir, but may I ask why? Marcus didn't answer immediately. He was watching Emma, who had finished her drawing and was walking toward him with a shy smile. I made you a picture, she said, holding out the paper. Marcus took it and his heart clenched. It was a simple child's drawing, but it showed 3 figures, a small woman, a child, and a tall man in a suit. Above them, Emma had carefully written, "Thank you," in wobbly letters. It's beautiful, Emma. I'll keep it forever. The man in the suit is you, she explained proudly. You saved my mommy. Something broke open inside him. At 35, he had achieved everything he'd dreamed of: money, power, recognition, but he had never saved anyone. He had never been anyone's hero, and now a 4-year-old saw him as her savior. Emma, would you like to go with me to see your mother? Her eyes lit up. Can I really? Of course, we'll go in my car. Robert's eyes widened. Marcus Wellington never changed plans, never cancelled meetings, never left the office for personal reasons. Yet here he was, grabbing his coat and preparing to take a child to the hospital. In the elevator, Emma held Marcus's hand. Her hand was so small, so trusting. She looked at him as if he were the most important person in the world, and Marcus realized that perhaps he truly was, but not for the reasons he had always believed. Mr. Marcus, she said, using the name she'd invented for him, do you have kids? No, he answered. Why not? The innocent question pierced him. Why not? He'd had girlfriends, relationships, but never seriously considered children. He always said he didn't have time. He needed to focus on his career. Looking at Emma, he wondered if he'd been missing something fundamental. I always thought I was too busy, he said honestly. Mommy says the most important things in life can't wait, Emma replied, with a wisdom far beyond her years. In the car, Emma was fascinated by everything. She had never ridden in a car so luxurious. She ran her fingers over the leather seats, admired the electronic controls, and asked questions about everything. Marcus watched her reactions and realized how easy it was to delight a child, how small things could bring so much joy. Mr. Marcus, she said, as they neared the hospital, will you keep taking care of my mommy even after she gets better? The question caught him off guard. What do you mean? Mommy says rich people help once, then forget. She says it's not their fault. They just have lots of other things to think about. Marcus's heart tightened. Maria was right. How many times had he written checks to charities to ease his conscience without ever following the outcome? Emma, I promise I'll take care of both of you, he said, and realized he meant it. At the hospital, Emma ran to her mother's room. Maria Rodriguez was awake but very weak. When she saw her daughter, her eyes filled with relieved tears. Emma, my princess, where were you? I was so worried. I went to get help, Mommy. I went to the building where you work and found Mr. Marcus. He said he'll pay for your medicine. Maria looked at Marcus, standing in the doorway, and tried to sit up. Mr. Wellington, I don't know how to thank you. But Emma shouldn't have bothered you. She's just a child. She doesn't understand. Ms. Maria, Marcus interrupted, stepping to the bedside. Emma understands perfectly. She did what any daughter would do to save her mother, and she reminded me of something I'd forgotten. What's that, sir? That there are things more important than meetings and reports. Maria began to cry. Mr. Wellington, I work hard. I've always done my job right. I never miss without warning. I just need a chance to pay you back. You don't need to pay anything, Marcus said gently. But I need to ask you something. Why didn't you come to me sooner? Why not tell anyone you were sick? Maria looked away, embarrassed. People like you don't mix with people like me. I'm just a cleaning lady. You have more important things to do. Shame burned through Marcus. He had built an environment where his employees felt insignificant, where a desperate mother would rather work herself into the ground than ask for help. Ms. Maria, from now on, this will change. You'll work one job here at Wellington Industries. I'm raising your salary, so you can focus on one job and take care of Emma. Mr. Wellington, that's too generous. I don't deserve it. You do. And Emma deserves her mother, healthy and present. Emma, listening by the bedside, wrapped her arms around Marcus. Thank you, Mr. Marcus. You're the best hero in the world. He hugged her back, feeling something he had never felt before, the sense that finally he was doing something that truly mattered. When they left the hospital, Emma was radiant. Her mother was improving. The doctors had started treatment, and she was sure everything would be okay. Mr. Marcus, she said on the way back, will you come to dinner at our house when Mommy gets out of the hospital? I'd love to, Marcus answered, and realized he meant it. I'll ask her to make your favorite dish. What is it? Marcus hesitated. For years he had eaten only at expensive restaurants, sophisticated dishes costing more than many people's monthly pay, yet none truly made him happy. You can surprise me, he said. Emma smiled. Mommy makes the best rice and beans in the world, and chocolate cake too. You'll see rice and beans and chocolate cake. Marcus hadn't eaten that in years, but for the first time in a long time, he was eager for a meal. In the days that followed, Marcus found it impossible to return to business as usual. Emma had planted a seed of change in his life. He couldn't stop thinking about the reality she had revealed. Each time he passed the janitorial corridor, he noticed faces, stories, needs. Robert delivered the report on the cleaning staff, and the numbers were staggering. Over 60% worked multiple jobs. Most earned barely above minimum wage per hour. Many had young children left alone at home or in precarious daycares. Mr. Wellington, Robert said, handing over a folder with photographs. This is the report you asked for, but I should warn you, some stories are hard to read. Marcus opened the folder and saw photos of cramped apartments, children playing on cracked sidewalks, entire families living in a single room. Each photo had a name, a story, a life he had never considered. Joseph Silva, 45, employed here for 8 years, 3 children and a sick wife. He worked weekends as a mechanic. The youngest, 6 years old, watched the baby when he was on shift. Marcus stopped at the photo of a girl, Emma's age, too serious for 6, holding a baby on her hip. A 6-year-old caring for infants. Yes, sir, Robert said. It's more common than we imagine. Anna Santos, 38, single mother of 2, cleans here overnight, works at a hospital during the day, and sells candy on the subway on weekends. The kids are alone most of the time. Each story hit Marcus like a punch. How had he been blind for so long? How had he built an empire without ever seeing the people who literally cleaned the path to his success? The phone rang. The hospital reported that Maria Rodriguez was doing well and would be discharged the next day. Marcus felt joy disproportionate to the news. He had helped save a life, changed a family's future. It felt better than any deal he had ever closed. Robert, schedule a meeting with the entire cleaning staff. I want to meet every one of them in person. Sir, they work overnight. Then schedule it overnight. I'll be here. Robert looked at him as if he'd lost his mind. Marcus Wellington never stayed past 8. He had never spoken with janitorial employees, never shown interest in the lives of the people he considered operations. But Marcus had changed, and it had all begun with a 4-year-old girl, brave enough to ask for help. The next night, Marcus was at the office at 11, waiting for the cleaning crew. He'd asked Amanda to set out coffee and sandwiches and make the conference room welcoming. When they arrived, they were greeted by a sight they never expected. The company's CEO, the richest man they knew, in jeans and a polo, personally pouring coffee. "Good evening, everyone," Marcus began, nervous. "I know this is unusual, but I want to know you better. I want to understand how I can make Wellington Industries a better place to work." The employees exchanged wary glances. Aunt Carmen, the neighbor who had helped Emma, spoke first. "Mr. Wellington, you don't need to worry about us. We do our jobs right." "I know you do," Marcus replied. "But this isn't about the work. It's about you as people, your families, your dreams, your needs." Joseph Silver cleared his throat. "With all due respect, sir, people like us don't usually have dreams. We survive." The sentence hit Marcus like a slap. "What if I told you that could change?" "How?" asked Ana Santos, the single mother working 3 jobs. Marcus took a breath. "First, I'm raising everyone's wages not a little, significantly enough that you won't need 2nd or 3rd jobs." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the room. "Second, we're opening an on-site daycare free for every employee's children." Aunt Carmen's voice trembled. "That's too generous, sir. Why?" Marcus thought of Emma, her courage, her unshakable belief that he could help. "Because a 4-year-old taught me that success means nothing if it isn't shared." Anna began to cry. "My kids, they could have a real childhood." "Every child deserves a real childhood," Marcus said. The meeting stretched until nearly 3 in the morning. Marcus heard story after story that broke his heart. He met people who had worked for him for years, but whom he had never seen as human beings. Each story made him more determined to change not only their lives, but the way his company functioned. The next day, he went to pick up Emma from a neighbor's apartment where she'd stayed while Maria recovered. It was a small place in an old building, a world away from his life of luxury. "Mr. Marcus," Emma cried, running to hug him, "Mommy is coming home today." "I know. I came to take you so we can go together." In the car, Emma chattered about everything: how she helped Aunt Carmen cook, how she drew more pictures for him, how excited she was for Mommy to return. "Mr. Marcus," she said suddenly, "you're different." "Different how?" "You're happier. Your eyes are shiny." He checked the rearview mirror and saw his own face. She was right. For the first time in years, he felt alive with purpose. "It's because I met you," he said honestly. "Mommy says people come into our lives for a reason. Maybe I came into yours to teach you to be happy." Emma's wisdom kept surprising him. "What else does your mommy say?" "She says God puts angels in our path when we need them most. Maybe you're our family's angel." Tears stung his eyes. He, the pragmatic executive, was being called an angel by a 4-year-old. At the hospital, Maria was dressed and ready to go. When she saw Marcus, she stood immediately. "Mr. Wellington, how can I thank you? But I need to get back to work. I have bills to pay." "Please don't worry about that. Your new salary at Wellington will cover what you need, but only come back when you're fully recovered, and only to the one job." Maria began to cry again. "I don't understand why you're doing this for us." Marcus looked at Emma, holding her mother's hand with a radiant smile. "Because your daughter taught me there are things far more important than money." On the way home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Marcus watched her in the mirror, the child who had completely changed his life. 3 days earlier, She had walked into his office a stranger. Now he couldn't imagine his life without her. "Mr. Wellington," Maria said softly, "Emma has talked so much about you. She says you're the kindest man in the world." "She's the one who taught me to be kind," Marcus replied. "May I ask something personal?" "Of course." "Do you have family?" He hesitated. "I have parents, but our lives are very separate. I never married, never had children." "Why?" "I always thought I didn't have time, that I had to focus on my career." "And now?" Marcus glanced again at the sleeping child. "Now I realize I may have missed what really matters." When they reached Maria's apartment, Emma woke and insisted he come up. It was simple but clean and cozy, full of love. Marcus realized something his mansion had never held. "Mr. Marcus," Emma said, tugging his hand, "want to see my room?" It was tiny, a twin bed, a small dresser, drawings taped to the wall, but Emma showed it off as if it were the most special place in the world. "I have a doll," she said, lifting a simple cloth doll. "Her name is Sophia. Want to meet her?" Marcus sat on the little bed and introduced himself to Sophia as if she were real. He invented a story, made different voices, created a small magical world that existed only in their imaginations. Watching Emma play, he realized he had spent his life chasing things that didn't make him happy: money, status, recognition. In that small room, with a 4-year-old and a rag doll, he felt more complete than he ever had. "Mr. Marcus," Emma asked, stopping her game, "can you be my heart dad?" The question startled him. "What's a heart dad?" "It's when someone cares for us like family, even if we're not related. Mommy says real family is the people who love us." Marcus looked toward the doorway where Maria stood, eyes wet. "If your mom agrees, I would love to be your heart dad." Emma ran to her mother. "Mommy, please." Maria hugged her daughter and looked at Marcus. "Are you sure, Mr. Wellington? Emma will get very attached." "I won't give up," he said with conviction. For the first time in his life, Marcus made a promise he knew he would keep, not out of duty, but out of love. 3 months later, Marcus's life had changed in ways he never imagined. The man who once considered 16-hour days normal now left the office at 5:30 p.m., sharp, to pick up Emma from the on-site daycare he had created. The man who dined alone in expensive restaurants now looked forward to weekend pancake breakfasts with a little girl who called him Daddy Marcus. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. At first, he felt lost, unsure how to interact with a child. He'd hired a nanny to help, but Emma always preferred to be with him. Slowly, he learned the language of childhood. He discovered that being a dad had less to do with manuals or theories, and everything to do with showing up, listening, and loving unconditionally. "Daddy Marcus, can you pick me up early today?" Emma asked over breakfast on a rainy Tuesday. She sat at the kitchen table of the bright new apartment Marcus had bought for her and Maria, a place with a bedroom just for Emma and a little yard where she could play. "Why, Princess? Did something happen at daycare?" Emma stirred her cereal with her spoon, a sign Marcus had learned meant she was worried. "Ms. Fernanda said there's going to be a presentation for moms and dads. All the kids are going to call their parents." Marcus's heart squeezed. Even after 3 months, Emma still felt unsure of his place in her life. "Do you not want me to go?" "I want you to," she said quickly. "But what if the other kids ask why my daddy isn't like their daddies?" Marcus knelt next to her chair, as he'd learned to do when they needed to talk about important things. "Emma, what do you think makes someone a parent?" "Loving us," she answered without hesitation. "Exactly. Do I love you?" "You do." "Then I'm your real dad no matter what anyone thinks." Emma smiled and hugged him tight. "You're the best dad in the world, Daddy Marcus. Maria watched from the kitchen doorway, eyes shining. In the last months, she had watched Marcus become a devoted, present, patient father. He had learned to detangle Emma's curls, to tell bedtime stories, to answer a 4-year-old's 1,000 questions with infinite calm. "Good morning, Ms. Maria," Marcus said, standing. "Coffee?" "Thank you, Marcus. You don't have to serve me." "We're a family," he answered naturally. "Families take care of one another." The morning flowed into their new routine. Marcus dropped Emma at daycare, accepted a fierce goodbye hug, and headed to the office with a warm heart. That small daily ritual had become the most important moment of his day. At the office, Robert waited with a stack of papers and a worried look. "Mr. Wellington, we have urgent matters to discuss." "Go ahead," Marcus said, eyes flicking to the clock. He'd promised Emma he'd be at daycare at 5:30, and he didn't break promises to his daughter. The board scheduled a meeting for Thursday. They want to discuss the company's changes. Marcus sighed. He knew this conversation would come. Since raising wages, opening the daycare, and expanding health benefits, some directors had questioned the costs. What kind of changes? Operating expenses are up significantly. Some directors are worried about profit impact. "Robert, do you have kids?" The question caught Robert off guard. "Yes, sir, too." "Could you work calmly, knowing they're alone at home or stuck in a bad daycare while you're here?" "No, sir." "Then you understand why our teams work better now. When people know their children are safe, they perform." Robert nodded, still uneasy. "Sir, I agree with the changes, but you need to prepare. Some directors are asking whether your recent decisions are based on business logic or what? Or personal factors." Marcus understood. They wondered whether Emma had affected his judgment. Perhaps she had, but if that meant becoming a more humane leader, a more conscious businessman, he didn't see a problem. "Schedule the meeting for Thursday at 2. I'll be ready." The rest of the day flew by as Marcus reviewed numbers, prepared his case, and planned how to explain that treating employees like human beings was sound business strategy. At 5:30 on the dot, he was at daycare. Emma ran to him as always, but this time something was different in her face. "Daddy Marcus, are you sad?" Her perception never failed to amaze him. "A little worried, Princess, but it's nothing serious." "Is it about work?" "How do you know?" "Because when work worries you, you do this," she said, furrowing her brow exactly the way he did when deep in thought. He laughed and scooped her up. "You know me very well." "I do, and I know you're the best at work, so you don't have to worry." Her unshakable faith in him moved him every time. "Thank you, Princess. You always know what to say." On the drive home, Emma chattered about her day. She learned a new song, drew a picture of the whole family, helped a younger child who scraped a knee. Marcus listened, marveling at her ability to find joy in small things. "Daddy Marcus," she asked suddenly, "what does adopt mean?" The question surprised him. "Why are you asking?" "Because Ms. Fernanda said you adopted me, but I don't know what that means." He parked and turned to face her. He knew this talk would come, but he hadn't expected it that moment. "Emma, you know I'm not your biological father, right?" "I know. Mommy told me my biological dad left before I was born." "Adopting means that even though I'm not your biological father, I chose to be your father legally. It means you are my daughter for real, on paper and in my heart." Emma thought for a moment. "So now you're my dad forever?" "Even if you do something wrong, especially if you do something wrong, real parents don't leave when things get hard." "And you won't leave?" "Never. You're stuck with me forever," he said, tickling her. Emma squealed. "I want to be stuck with you forever." When they got home, Maria was finishing dinner. She had become a wonderful cook, and Marcus loved walking into the smell of home-cooked food, something he'd never known before, the warmth of a place where someone cooked with love. "How was your day?" Maria asked, kissing Emma's forehead. "Great. Daddy Marcus said he adopted me because he chose me to be his daughter." Maria smiled at Marcus. "It's true," he said. "You were very chosen." During dinner, Marcus watched his family. Emma told daycare stories with wide gestures, making Maria laugh with her observations about other kids. Maria asked about his day, genuinely interested, offering perspectives he had never considered. It was an ordinary domestic scene, yet it filled him in a way he hadn't thought possible. He'd spent years eating in elegant restaurants, closing deals at polished tables, but he'd never felt as nourished as he did at that simple table with a woman who respected him and a child who loved him unconditionally. "Daddy Marcus," Emma said, interrupting his thoughts, "can you help me with homework?" "Of course, Princess. What kind?" "I have to draw my family and write about each person." After dinner, he sat with her at the dining table, surrounded by crayons and paper. She drew 3 figures, a dark-haired woman, a tall man in a suit, and a small child in the middle, all holding hands. "Now I have to write about each person," Emma said, chewing the pencil thoughtfully. "What will you write about your mom?" "That she's the bravest mom in the world because she took care of me by herself when I was little." "And about me?" She thought a moment. "That you're the kindest dad in the world because you saved me when I was scared." His eyes stung. "You saved me too. You know, by teaching me there are things more important than work and money." "What things?" "Love, family, being a good person." Emma smiled and kept writing carefully in her crooked letters. He helped with the harder words, amazed at her determination to get everything just right. "Done," she said, showing him the drawing. "This is my family. Isn't it the prettiest?" "It's the prettiest of all," he answered, and he truly believed it. Later, after Emma fell asleep, Marcus and Maria sat in the living room for their nightly ritual, talking about the day. It was a moment he had learned to cherish, the quiet of the home, Emma safe in her room, the gentle company of Maria. "Marcus," she said, pouring tea, "Emma told me about your adoption talk. I hope that was okay." "I thought I should be honest." "Of course it's okay. You're her father. You have the right and the responsibility to have those conversations." He studied Maria. Over these months, she had blossomed. The stress of 3 jobs had vanished. She smiled more. She'd gone back to school, taking an online administration course, and had become an excellent coordinator for the daycare. "Maria, can I ask something?" "Always." "Do you feel strange about all these changes?" she thought. "At first, yes. I was afraid it was temporary, that you'd change your mind. But now I see how you look at Emma, how you care for her, how you truly became her father. I realize this is real." "It is," Marcus said. "More real than anything I've ever lived." "May I ask something personal?" she added. "Do you miss your old life, the freedom, the simplicity?" He laughed. "Maria, do you think my old life was simple? I woke at 5, worked until 11 at night, came home exhausted and alone. No real friends, no close family, no purpose beyond making more money. But you had the freedom to do as you wished. What freedom? I was a slave to my ambition. Now I have something worth working for, something that gives meaning. You and Emma gave me a family, a reason to be better." "You were always a good man," she said softly. "You just needed a reason to show it." "Maybe, but without you two, I'd never have discovered it." They talked late into the night about Emma, the future, the ways their lives had changed. Marcus realized he had never had conversations this deep with anyone. Maria had a grounded wisdom, a way of seeing the world that challenged and inspired him. "Thank you," she said, as they got up to say goodnight. "For what?" "For loving Emma the way she deserves, for becoming the father she always needed." "Thank you," he replied, "for trusting me with what you love most." "I trust you completely," Maria said. "Emma couldn't have a better dad." On his way to bed, Marcus paused at Emma's door. She slept soundly, hugging her favorite doll. The family drawing lay carefully folded on the nightstand. He stepped in and kissed her forehead. "Good night, my princess," he whispered. "Thank you for making me the happiest man in the world." Emma murmured in her sleep and smiled. Marcus left the room with his heart overflowing. Tomorrow he would face the board, defend his decisions, fight for what he believed. But right now, he was simply a father, watching his daughter sleep, and there was no greater happiness. On Thursday, Marcus entered the boardroom ready for battle. 8 directors sat around the polished table, serious expressions, financial reports open. "Marcus," said Charles Morrison, the chair, "thanks for coming. We need to discuss concerns about the company's direction." "I'm here to clarify anything you need," Marcus replied calmly. "As you can see in the reports," Morrison continued, "operating costs have risen significantly in recent months. Specifically, HR spend is up 40%. "That's correct," Marcus said, "and our revenue is up 25% in the same period." "Yes, but net profit has dipped temporarily. We are investing in our most important asset, our people." Margaret Foster, one of the more conservative directors, leaned forward. "Marcus, we understand you want to be a good boss, but our responsibility is to shareholders, not employees." "With respect, Margaret, our responsibility is to the company's long-term success. Satisfied employees are essential to that success." "Daycare, premium health plans. These are costs that don't justify themselves financially." Marcus thought of Emma, of Maria, of the employees whose lives had changed. "Let me tell you a story," he said. He told them about Emma, the 4-year-old who had opened his eyes. He told them about Maria, her 3 jobs, her exhaustion. He told them how he had finally seen that his employees were people, not cells in a spreadsheet. "Since we implemented these changes," Marcus concluded, "productivity is up, turnover is down dramatically, and our market reputation has improved significantly. Profit will recover. We're building a foundation for sustainable growth." Morrison studied him. "Are you sure these decisions are based on business logic?" "I'm sure they're the right decisions," Marcus answered firmly. The meeting dragged on for 2 hours as he defended every change, every investment, every choice. In the end, the board gave him 6 months to prove the approach was financially viable. When Marcus left the room, it was nearly 6. He had missed pickups, something that had never happened. He called quickly. "Maria, I'm so sorry. I'm late. Can I come get Emma now?" "It's okay, Marcus. She's here with me at the daycare playing, but she was worried and asked where you were." His heart clenched. "I'm on my way." When he arrived, Emma sat by the window, staring out. When she saw him, her face lit up, but he could tell she had been crying. "Daddy Marcus," she ran to him. "I'm sorry, Princess. Daddy was late at work." "I thought you forgot me," she said in a small voice. He knelt and hugged her tight. "Emma, listen to me. I will never ever forget you. Sometimes Daddy might be late, but I will not forget. Promise?" "Promise." "You are the most important thing in my life." She smiled, and Marcus realized that the board meeting had been irrelevant compared with this. Emma was his priority, his family was his priority, and he would never let work get in the way again. "Let's go home, Princess. We've got dinner to make." "Can I help?" "Of course. We're a team." As they drove, Marcus knew he had made the right choice. No matter what the board thought, no matter if some profits were sacrificed, he had found something more valuable than money. A family who loved him for who he was, not what he had. And for that family, he would face anything. 6 months after that tense board meeting, Marcus sat in his office, reviewing the most impressive financials he'd ever seen. Wellington Industries had not only recovered profit, it had broken records. Productivity was up 60%. Employee turnover had dropped to nearly zero. The company had won 3 corporate social responsibility awards. "Robert," Marcus called over the intercom, "can you step in?" Robert entered, grinning. "Mr. Wellington, I assume this is about the numbers." "Exactly. These are the best results in company history." "Yes, sir. And one more thing, Forbes wants to feature Wellington's transformation. They're calling it the miracle of corporate humanization." Marcus smiled, eyes already on the clock. 5:15. In 15 minutes, he would be at daycare to pick up Emma, as he did every day. That ritual had become sacred. "Can you schedule the interview for after 6:30? "Of course, sir. May I ask what's the 5:30 commitment?" "Picking up my daughter." Robert smiled. After 6 months, the whole company was used to Marcus's new routine. He arrived earlier, worked more efficiently, and left on time to be with Emma, paradoxically more productive than ever. "Mr. Wellington," Robert said, "can I say something personal?" "Go ahead." "When you first arrived with Emma that day, many of us thought it was a phase that you'd lose interest when you realized how much work a child is." Marcus lifted an eyebrow. "And now?" "Now we see Emma didn't just change your life. She changed the company, the way we treat employees, how we see our work, what success means. Emma has that gift," Marcus said, pride swelling. "She sees the world in a way that makes all of us want to be better." Marcus reached daycare at 5:30, exactly, as always. But today was different. Emma didn't run to him. She sat in a corner, hugging her doll, looking unusually sad. "Emma," he said softly, "what happened, princess?" She looked up with red, tear-rimmed eyes. "Daddy Marcus, Ms. Fernanda said I have to change daycare." His heart stopped. "Why?" "Because I'm turning 5 and this daycare is only for little kids. She said now I have to go to real school." Relief mixed with melancholy. Emma was growing. His little 4-year-old was becoming 5, and that meant change. "Emma, going to school is a good thing. You'll learn new things and make new friends." "But I don't want to leave here," she sobbed. "I like Ms. Fernanda. I like my friends. I like being close to your work." He knelt and hugged her. "Princess, no matter where you study, I'll always be there for you. Okay? Even if the school is far? Even if it's far, even when you grow up, I'll still be your dad." She calmed a little. "Will you help me choose my school?" "Of course. We'll pick the best one in the world for you." In the days that followed, Marcus researched the city's best schools. He toured dozens, spoke with principals, observed teaching styles. Emma had different criteria. After one particularly prestigious visit, she shook her head. "I didn't like that one." "Why not?" "The kids didn't look happy, and the principal didn't smile even once." She was right. The school was technically excellent, but lacked something intangible joy, warmth, the kind of environment where a sensitive child like Emma could thrive. "Then we'll find a school where the children are happy," he said. The one they chose wasn't the most expensive or the most famous. It was small, with a lovely garden, smiling teachers, and children who ran free and laughed. Emma fell in love instantly. "This is the perfect school," she declared after the visit. "Can I study here?" "Of course, princess. If you like it, this is where you'll go." On the first day of school, Marcus was more nervous than Emma. He took the morning off to walk her to class, something he never would have done months earlier. "Daddy Marcus," she asked in the car, "do you think I'll make friends?" "I'm sure of it. You're a very special girl. Any child would be lucky to be your friend." "And if I miss you?" "If you miss me, ask your teacher to call. I'll come get you right away." Emma smiled. "Thank you for being the best dad in the world." His eyes burned. "Thank you for letting me be your dad." Emma adapted quickly. She made friends, impressed her teachers with her maturity and sensitivity, and especially stood out in art. Every day she came home with drawings, stories, and animated accounts of her day. "Daddy Marcus," she said one afternoon, "my teacher says I draw really well. She wants me in the exhibit." "That's wonderful. Of course you can. Can I make a special drawing for it?" "Of course. What kind?" She thought. "I want to draw our family, but not just us three. Our big family." "A big family?" "Yes. You, me, Mommy, Aunt Carmen, Mr. Robert, Ms. Fernanda, all the friends from daycare, the employees you helped. We're all one big family." Marcus was moved by her perspective. For Emma, family wasn't just blood or legal papers, it was all the people who cared for each other. "That's a beautiful idea. I can't wait to see it." The school exhibit was set for a Friday evening. Marcus cancelled an important meeting to be there. When he arrived, Emma was radiant in a new dress Maria had bought for the occasion. "Daddy Marcus, come see." Emma's drawing filled a wall. It was a child's artwork, but loaded with meaning. At the center were Emma, Marcus, and Maria, hand in hand. Around them, dozens of figures, company employees, daycare children, teachers, neighbors, everyone smiling, connected by lines Emma said represented love. "Emma," Marcus said, voice thick, "this is the most beautiful drawing I've ever seen. Do you really like it?" "I love it. You're right, we do have a very big family." Other parents gathered, impressed by her sensitivity. "Is she your daughter?" one mother asked. "Yes," Marcus said with pride. "Emma is my daughter. She's very talented and very mature for her age." "She's special," he agreed. "She teaches me something new every day." Emma's teacher approached. "Mr. Wellington, may I speak with you?" "Of course." "Emma told me how you became a family. It's a beautiful story." "It's the best story of my life," he said. "I can also say Emma is one of the most remarkable children I've ever taught. She has a unique gift for seeing the good in people, for connecting, for spreading joy." "She's always been that way," Marcus replied, watching Emma explain her drawing to classmates. "Since the first day I met her." "How does it feel to be her father?" the teacher asked. "It must be a huge responsibility," Marcus considered. "It's the most important responsibility of my life, and the purest joy. She didn't just make me a father, she made me a better man." "It shows," the teacher said. "She speaks of you with so much love and pride." "I'm the one who's proud of her," he answered. "She's brave, kind, and smart, everything I aspire to be." After the exhibit, they celebrated with dinner out. Emma was glowing, talking non-stop about the evening, the compliments, her happiness. "Daddy Marcus," she asked mid-meal, "do you remember when I was little and went to your office?" He smiled. "How could I forget? It was the most important day of my life." "Why?" "Because it's the day I met you, the day I learned there was something more important than work." "I remember too," Emma said. "I was very scared, but you were kind to me." "You weren't scared," he corrected gently. "You were the bravest person I'd ever met. I just wanted to save Mommy." "And you did. You saved Mommy and you saved me too," she thought. "Do you think other kids need help like I did?" The question cut straight to his heart. "Yes, Princess, many do." Then can we help them? Can you use your company to help more families like you helped ours? Marcus looked at Maria, who was smiling through tears. Emma's sensitivity surprised everyone, every time. You know what? That's a very good idea. How about we create a foundation to help other children? Emma's eyes lit up. Can it be the Emma Foundation? The Emma Foundation it is, Marcus said. We'll help kids going through what you went through. And families like ours, Emma added, looking at Maria. In the months that followed, Marcus worked tirelessly to launch the Emma Foundation, an ambitious project offering support for vulnerable families, free early childhood care, education programs, and medical assistance. Emma took part in every step, offering insights only a child could. Daddy Marcus, she said during one planning meeting, there has to be a place for kids to play. Of course, Princess, we'll have play areas. And there have to be kind people working there, people who really like kids. We'll hire people who love working with children. And, Daddy Marcus? Yes? Can there be a piano so kids can learn music? Marcus smiled. Yes, music matters. They chose the foundation's opening to fall on the first anniversary of the day Emma had walked into Marcus's office, a symbolic date marking a transformation that changed not only their lives, but hundreds of others. On the day of the inauguration, Marcus was nervous. There were journalists, community leaders, business owners, and scores of families who would benefit. But the person he most wanted to impress was Emma. Daddy Marcus, she said, straightening his tie, you look handsome. Thank you, Princess. You look beautiful. I'm nervous, she admitted. Why? There are a lot of people. What if I say something wrong? He knelt. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. But if you do, just speak from your heart like you always do. I'll be right beside you. The ceremony was moving. Marcus spoke about transforming the company, about the importance of caring for employees, about how a small child had changed his idea of success. But the most touching moment came when Emma stepped up to the microphone. Hi, she said, her small voice filling the hall. My name is Emma, and this foundation has my name. The audience smiled at her ease. One day my mommy got sick and I was really scared. So I went to Daddy Marcus's office and asked him to help. He helped, and now we're a family. She paused, looking at Marcus, who stood beside her with tears in his eyes. This foundation is for other kids who are scared like I was, so they know there's always someone who can help, so they know they're not alone. The hall fell silent. Many adults cried openly. And I want to say to all the kids here, you are special, you are loved, and never be afraid to ask for help when you need it. The ovation was spontaneous and full of feeling. Emma spoke for only a few minutes, but her words reached people in a way no polished speech could. Later, after the guests left, Marcus, Emma, and Maria sat in the foundation's garden. Emma played with other children, her laughter ringing across the lawn. Marcus, Maria said, do you realize what you've done? I didn't do this alone, he answered. Emma started it. She planted the seed, but you made it grow. Marcus watched Emma, radiant with joy. Maria, can I ask something? Always. Are you happy with all these changes? Maria smiled. 2 years ago, I worked 3 jobs. I could barely pay rent and Emma was alone most of the time. Today I have a job I love, a beautiful home, and my daughter has a father who adores her. How could I not be happy? Even with the attention, the publicity? At the end of the day, we're just a family that loves one another, and that's what matters. Emma ran over, breathless from play. Daddy Marcus, Mommy, come play with us. We're coming, Princess, Marcus said, standing. Emma squeezed his hand. Thank you. For what? For listening to me that day, for helping me, for becoming my dad. He knelt and hugged her tightly. Thank you for being brave enough to find me. Thank you for teaching me what true love is. Thank you for giving me the family I always wanted and never knew I needed. We're a family, forever, forever and ever, Emma laughed, racing back to the kids. Marcus watched, his heart overflowing. 2 years ago, he had been rich but empty. Today he was a father, a husband at heart, a man who had found his true purpose. Maria stepped closer. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Emma was right, he said. Sometimes asking for help is the bravest thing we can do. And sometimes helping is the most rewarding thing we can do. Marcus nodded. Emma taught me that success isn't measured by what we accumulate, but by what we share, not by what we conquer, but by what we build, not by what we own, but by whom we love. She's a very special girl, Maria said. She's our special girl, Marcus corrected. Our daughter, our family, our life. The sun sank, painting the sky gold. Emma kept playing, her laughter blending with the others, a symphony of joy echoing through the garden. Marcus realized he had found something he hadn't known he was seeking, the complete peace of being exactly where he should be, doing exactly what he should do, loving exactly whom he should love. Daddy Marcus! Emma shouted from across the lawn. Come here, I want to show you something. He grinned and ran to her. Coming, princess! As he sprinted toward his daughter, Marcus thought about the journey they had taken together. It had begun with a brave 4-year-old who believed a stranger could save her mother, and it continued with a family who saved one another, a foundation that would help hundreds more, and a man who finally understood that true success wasn't conquering the world, but winning the heart of a child. She waited for him with a radiant smile, arms open for another hug. He scooped her up and spun her, both of them laughing, while Maria watched with tears of joy. And there, in that perfect moment, Marcus knew he had found everything he had ever searched for. A family who loved him for who he was, a purpose beyond profits and trophies, and a love that would last forever. Little Emma had entered his life like a whirlwind of hope, transforming not only his destiny, but the destinies of hundreds of others. And he knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, as a true family, because some stories don't end. They simply begin. The end. This is Mr. Hope. Thank you for watching. Kindly comment and like.